What the? Oh, he's putting, oh, he's gonna lift that up with his earlobes? Oh my gosh, you're kidding me. Oh my, oh, I can't watch. It's gonna tear. It's gonna tear. How many of you are waiting for those earlobes to tear? Now this gentleman is called the Lizard Man, and he's kind of a legend in the body modification world. I actually had an encounter with him that really wasn't all that pleasant. Many years ago, I used to write articles for CNN, and I did write an article about body modification. And as a physician, I have concerns regarding body modification and some of its potential safety issues, as I should as a doctor. Well, the Lizard Man somehow read the article and he took it as an affront, and he went on Twitter and challenged me to a street fight. And I will admit right here that if I got in a fight with the Lizard Man, he probably would kick my ass. So Lizard Man, if you're watching this video, I wish you peace and love. No reason for us to fight. Wow, look at those earlobes. Those are huge. Wow, 4 inches wide. These are called gauges. One of the first things that many body modification enthusiasts do is that they gauge their ears. So essentially they start with a normal ear piercing, and then they put gradually larger dilators into that piercing to dilate that hole larger and larger and larger. And I'm sure you've seen this in people potentially in your area. Now the interesting thing with gauges is that that skin that is there made up of your earlobe, which my earlobe is really tiny, but some people have larger ones, that skin just gets stretched out more and more and more, and typically it gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And when you take that gauge out, that earring out, it literally looks like a limp spaghetti noodle. This gentleman's very interesting because it looks like he has still a good amount of skin and thickness of his gauged earlobes. So he must have had like huge earlobes to start with for them to stay as thick as they are. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's his tongue coming out of his cheek. Oh, it looks like a little fish sticking its head out. Wow. Look at that. Oh, he is sucking on a lollipop through his cheek. Okay, I know what you are wondering. You're wondering, how does he eat or drink when he's got huge holes in his cheeks? And my answer for you, as a physician who has done a ton of head and neck surgery, including intraoral surgery, is I have no idea. Now, I often operate inside the mouth, and one of the most common operations that I do is a buccal fat removal. And that's where we go inside the mouth, inside the cheek, and remove a little chunk of fat from each side. One of the things that we have to avoid is the Stenson's duct, or the parotid duct, which is a little hole on the inside of the cheek where saliva comes out of. My concern is that when you have huge holes in your cheeks like he does, how are your Stenson's ducts? Are they intact? I hope they are, because if they get clogged, your parotid gland, which is here, can actually expand, it can get obstructed, and that can cause major problems. Not to mention, I bet you he can't drink through a straw, and I assume he can't blow up a balloon. But it would be kind of cool to French kiss somebody through your cheek. Wow. That's a lot of piercings. Okay, now what's she doing? Ooh, she's putting that through her tongue. Oh, there's a piercing there. Oh, look at that. Oh, she's twisting it. Oh my gosh. Piercings are considered the least invasive form of body modification. But that being said, piercing different body parts come with different elements of risk. I highly recommend not piercing the cartilage of your ear. This is a very common area that people get a lot of piercings. But the problem is if you pierce the cartilage and that cartilage gets infected, it is really difficult to treat. That cartilage can literally liquefy and your ear can melt away, and it literally can look like a cauliflower ear or a lop type ear. The cartilage does not have good blood supply. It actually gets blood supply from the surrounding tissues. And so if the cartilage gets infected, it is extremely difficult to clear that infection out. I love Marvel Comics. Look, it's Wolverine and Spider-Man. This is my type of body mod. Black Widow, Carnage, there's Groot. Oh, there's Captain America and Thor. This is cool. So if I had to get a Marvel Comics character tattooed onto my body, I would pick Captain Marvel, the Carol Danvers version. And guess what body part I would have tattooed with it? That I'm not going to tell you. Needles inserted into his head? He's like Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies. Oh my gosh. Look at that. 2,188 needles. This reminds me of acupuncture, but taken to a major extreme. If you have never had acupuncture, I encourage you to try it sometime. Acupuncture has been scientifically proven to help with certain types of pain and even with nausea. So how does acupuncture actually work if it's scientifically proven? Well, in traditional Chinese medicine, they believe that the body contains several energy meridians, which are kind of like rivers of energy that go down our body. And the belief is that those rivers of energy can get blocked or they can get sidetracked. And the idea behind placing needles in certain places is that you can cause those rivers of energy to go back into their rightful directions. Now, as an allopathic physician trained in Western medicine, it sounds pretty woo-woo to me, but we do know that acupuncture does work. We just don't quite understand how. This episode is brought to you by my skincare line, Yoon Beauty. Our products combine natural and organic ingredients with the latest in scientifically proven anti-aging components like vitamin C and retinol. So if you're looking for healthy and youthful skin without the unnecessary chemicals, this is the skincare line for you. Check them out at dryoononline.com and use the coupon code 20OFF to get $20 off your first order over $99. We'll put a link in the caption below. All right, back to the video. Ooh, look at that tongue. Wow. It's like spiky things. 20 of them total. That's a lot. Now, I need to mention that the American Dental Association recommends against piercings of the tongue. They warn that these piercings can cause issues with infections. It can cause damage to your gums, to your teeth, to your fillings. And they also warn against nerve damage to the tongue, especially when a guy like this is getting 20 piercings into his tongue. Interestingly, they also say that having tongue piercings, especially several like this, may cause you to create more saliva. This can cause you to drool excessively. No thanks. And it looks like it would hurt a lot to get your tongue pierced. Ouch. Wow. Look at him. He's definitely a work of art, that's for sure. Wow, 516 mods. So one of the things that stands out when I look at this gentleman is that he's got really black eyes. So what is that? Well, it's called scleral tattooing. And essentially what you do is you numb the eyeball up, you take some ink, you stick a needle into the sclera, which is the white portion of your eyeball, and you inject ink into it. Now, this is not done all that commonly, and there is a belief that you can have some major potential complications, including even losing your vision. But more and more scleral tattooing is being performed, and some people are using various colors. Orange, blue, as you can see here, they use black. But I really should stress that we're seeing all these people with these body modifications, and it's easy for some people who don't know the community or people who have these types of changes in their body to think that they are psychologically unwell, that they are bad people, that they're people you don't want to meet in an alleyway in the middle of the night. But my experience with body modification, and I don't have a lot of experience with people who have extreme modification like this, is that they're typically normal people who are actually quite friendly. Myself, I try not to judge people who've had too much plastic surgery, being a plastic surgeon. I also encourage you and myself to try not to judge people who've had a ton of body modification as well. Okay, so now that I'm off my soapbox, let's look at the woman with the most body modifications in the world. Here she comes. Here she comes. Let's take a look. Okay, a lot of tats. There's some subdermal implants. Oh, wow. Yeah, I believe that she does have the most body mod in the world. Look at her. Wow, look at her irises. They're blue, bright, bright blue. Impressive. So you may be wondering, What are those horns that are sticking out of her? I think she had them in her arms, and you can see she definitely has them in her forehead. These are called subdermal implants, and basically they are implants that are put under the skin to create that type of an appearance. Now usually these implants are made out of silicone, the same thing that we use to make, let's say, a chin implant, a cheek implant, even the outer surface of breast implants. But the risk with putting a subdermal implant in is extrusion. Whenever you put something underneath the skin that puts pressure on the skin's surface, there is a risk for that to literally erode through the skin as the body tries to remove it. And this actually happens not uncommonly with silicone implants put into the nose. These implants have a definite risk of extrusion, where sometimes you'll even see pictures of them coming out the tip of the nose or from the inside of the nose. I mentioned earlier that fixing gauged earlobes is a procedure that we often do as plastic surgeons, but this is a surgery that can be very, very difficult, although it can definitely be life-changing. Now, on a recent episode of Dr. 90210, there was a gentleman who had a gauged earlobe that was huge and actually had it torn in a bar fight. Now, his earlobes were so long after getting torn that he could actually stick them into his ear canal to act as earplugs. Now, if you want to see how the doctor fixed it on Dr. 90210 and my reaction to it, take a peek at the video right up here. And remember, eat real food, use clean skincare, and only consider actual plastic surgery as a last resort.